Yo guys, what is going on? Blossom is back, and welcome back to another episode of Top Drives and another episode of Garage Review. Now, on this series, I feel like we've become accustomed to looking at some very pay-to-win garages, some very big garages, and with big garages comes very high expectations, and with very high expectations comes very long notes from me with very meticulous points to the owner of what cars to collect and upgrade. But today we're going to have a change of pace. We're looking at a beginner's garage, so shout out to Janko, hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. He's a new patron of mine. He joined this year in 2022, and as you can tell, he is a new player to the game as well. 430 RQ, 2,500 trophies. Now, one thing I think is very interesting about this garage is that it's not your typical beginner's garage. Although this is a beginner's garage, this is coming from an owner that acknowledges Blossom Choice. And I think that Blossom Choice is definitely a list for all players, but it's super important for every new player because, you know, it's basically a list of cars that you should never fuse away or sell away. These are cars that are fantastic either in their niche or in their versatility across many track sets. So with that said, today I want to take a step back and look at this smaller garage over here and really give you my thoughts. Now, unlike the bigger garages which we're used to seeing and that I'm used to reviewing, I'm not going to be super meticulous about getting every single car. In fact, for you, Janko, I'm going to be focusing on what you currently have because I don't know how many packs you actually open and how many carbon fibers you actually open. So let's just focus on what you got going on. So starting off with the commons, really when it comes to starting out playing Top Drives, there are really two things to really look for. I feel like you always have to specialize. Because as the game, you know, progresses, as it gets older and older, the amount of cars in the game is only going to expand. I think when this game started, when Top Drives began, there were only about 700 cars in total, which already is a crap ton. But now there's like, what, 2,500? Over 2,000 for sure. So with that being said, it can get overwhelming, and it's only going to get more overwhelming for every new player that comes into the game if you don't have a certain end goal, a certain target that you want to follow and, you know, basically honor. So let's talk about specialization, Janko. What do you want to focus on? Do you have favorites, or should we focus on what your garage is currently super strong in? Okay, so those are the two things that I want you to ask yourself. And if you're a beginner and you're watching, these are questions that I want you to ask yourself as well. What do you want to specialize in? You cannot, if you are not a pay to win, you cannot try and collect everything in one go. It's too overwhelming. You're gonna need too many slots. You don't know what to fuse because you want to, you know, keep everything, and, you know, it becomes really stressful. So really, I would say focus on an avenue, whether it be your favorite car or the strongest section in your garage. And that's exactly what I'm going to do today. I'm going to find what is the strongest sections in your garage. So we start off with commons, only four. We have the Suzuki Alto and the Planet Firebird, both of them being Blossom Choice, both of them really good. I would 323 both. BMW Isetta, I mean, I guess it's there for the meme, but it's actually a really bad car in general. So I know I probably offended a lot of people by just saying that, but it's a fact. And then the Peugeot 402 Dalmart. I don't think I said that correctly. It's actually a pretty decent car. Definitely I would 332 that because it's a bit of a dragster car. I know the 0 to 60 is very bad, but the top speed is relatively high for, you know, RQ10, the lowest in the game. Really, it's a 332 car. I would keep it around though. Anyway, let's move on to uncommon now. So for uncommons, as you can see, we have some Blossom choices here, right? We have the Nissan Leaf, we have the Nissan Micra Turbo, and of course we have some pretty good cars like the Dodge Challenger as well. So, and of course, Mazda Yunus Roadster. So what would I really focus on here, Janko? Once again, it's always Blossom Choice. It's nice to see that the Mazda Yunus is already done, right? Because that is a very good car. The Nissan Micra Turbo as well. I would definitely focus on the Nissan Micra Turbo and one of the Challenger TAs. Because if we move back just a little bit to your garage, as you can see here, actually, you know what? Before the Nissan Micra Turbo, focus on the Nissan Leaf. So if I were you, I'd go Leaf first, Challenger second, Micra third. Why? Is because the Leaf, you basically have a twisty car and a medium ground clearance car in one. And the Nissan Micra Turbo is basically just the same version, but it's a slightly worse version of the Leaf. But it is the best car, and I do believe City Street's medium. It's either medium or small. You can check my server for the answers for that. But of course, the Dodge Challenger TA is going to serve as your dragster, right? And then you have the Yunus, which serves as your standard tire car. So with these four cars, if you max all of them, you basically cover a huge amount already. You have the wet uncommon section, you know, covered with the Yunus. You have the drag uncommon uncommon section covered with the Challenger, and then you have the twisty slash medium ground clearance section covered with the Nissan Micra and the Nissan Leaf. Also, I would probably look out for the Bluebird. I think that is the uncommon that you need the most because you need an uncommon to fill the off-road category. So look out for the Bluebird. I don't think it's called the SSS Bluebird, but it's the uncommon Bluebird that's only one rear-wheel drive off-road tires. So now let's move on to rare. Now the Plymouth GTX, I think that is already max. Besides the handling, no it isn't, because I think it hits 4.20 to 60. So finish the Plymouth GTX if I were you. The BMW Z4 S Drive is also very, very good. I would 323 that. You get 89 handling and, you know, relatively decent 0 to 60. The Pontiac Firebird Trans Am is nice to see that you got that. That is a prize car. And, you know, it's a very good one at that. Definitely the second best rare dragster, only behind, of course, the 1969 Charger, which is my favorite car, but you also have it. The Pontiac Firebird, as you can see, as I can see, it's already maxed because 4.5 0 to 60 is the lowest 0 to 60 it can get. Nice to know though, 332. The Mazda MX-5 is pretty decent as well, but really what you want is the BBR. So if I were you, I'd probably look out for a BBR. If you get the BBR, you can get rid of the Mazda MX-5. The Volvo V40 T5 is amazing. The Volvo 850 T5R is also very good. And of course, the Ford Escort Rally specs. So what I see from your rare collection here, Janko, is I would really focus on the Ford Escort Rally spec, the Volvo V40 T5, and this is where we start thinking about specializations, because I've had a good look at your garage before I started recording the video, and there are two countries in particular that stood out in strength. Japan was one of them, and the other one is the USA. So it would be nice if your favorite country for cars is either Japanese or American, because that's exactly where the strongest suits in your garage are. If I were you, I'd probably focus, I don't know, because we've just had JPT, but the update that we had before JPT was American Frontier. So it's not like we're gonna get a Japanese or American update coming up anytime soon. So really, if I were you, I would probably still pick one of them though, because I feel like it's the easiest way to really find a specialist and a strong point in your garage. So really either focus in Japan or the US. So really, if you want to focus in Japan, then you might want to keep the Mazda MX-5 around, even if you don't, even if you get the BBR. And if you want to focus on the US, then obviously you have the Pontiac Firebird Trans Am, and you probably want to focus on some yeah, you don't have, maybe get like, what is it called? The Ford Probe. That's what it is. You probably want to get a Ford Probe, you probably want to get a Camaro IROC, just some more twisty oriented, or maybe even the Chevrolet Jeff Gordon, because you have the GTX, you have the Firebird, and you have the Charger. So drags, when it comes to rare Americans, you're fine. Really what you want to look out for is basically just the twistier stuff. And when it comes to Japanese, once again, you know, you have the twisty stuff in the MX-5, but that's really all you have. Your Japanese is, you know, a lot stronger when we go into the different rarities, into the further rarities. And obviously when it comes to uncommons, you have the Leaf, you have the Micro Turbo, so that's very strong for Japanese collection for the uncommons already. So moving on for super rares, I can see a trend in your garage where you have a lot of dragsters. Once again, maxed out Chevrolet El Camino SS454. I would also really focus on the Alfa Romeo 323. That now, if you're watching Janko, for the cars that I did not mention, it probably means that you can get rid of them. It's really, you know, fuse at your own discretion at that point. They're not very good, therefore I didn't talk about them, therefore you can think about getting rid of them if you want. Once again, you know, we got some max American cars here. In fact, we have a pretty strong American collection here already, because we have a twisty represented American car with the Classic Crossfire, we have a drag American car in the 454 El Camino, and then we have a standard American car in the Classic Crossfire Roadster. And then earlier on in your garage, we also saw the Cadillac ELR. Now if I were you, I'd really max the Cadillac ELR first, because that is a very, very strong car. We also have some, you know, pretty nice twisty cars here in the Citroen C2R2 and the DS3, which I'm currently maxing because it's two-tone. The Super Forester is a pretty good car as well. Really good handling, four-wheel drive and standard tires. But if I were you, I would probably look out for a Subaru Levorg. And then you have the Ford Flex 3.5. So really, if you want to focus on that American collection, then you would have to max out the Ford Flex. It's a fantastic car. Not as good as the Volvo that I despise, but it's still a really good car because you get 84 handling, four-wheel drive, standard tires as well, medium ground clearance. It might even be high. No, it's a medium ground clearance. And the Suzuki Swift Sport Cup is a very good car for clubs. So if you want to get a head start in clubs, I would really focus on the Suzuki Swift Sport Cup. If you really want to focus on clubs as well, the first two cars that I would max in your garage would be the Suzuki Swift Sport Cup and the Cadillac ELR. Those two are priority. Nothing here is really special. The Benz, the Chrysler, the Bentley, nothing too special there. Don't worry about it. If I were you, I'd really focus on the ELR and the Suzuki Swift. And even if it wasn't about clubs, the ELR is a really good car to collect in your garage. Some cars that I would probably fuse away. Now, one thing I've realized, Janko, is that you have a lot of 1-stars. And I would assume that a lot of these 1-stars, you basically just 1-star them to get through levels in single player. That makes sense. But now that you've completed single player, and I know this because you've won the McLaren 12C, unless you unpacked it before even finishing the challenge, the campaign. What I was trying to say is, you know, if you finish the campaign, stop 1-starring every single car you get. 1-star the cars that you need for the events that are going on in the multiplayer challenges, because 1-starring a car that you don't need at the time of getting it is basically just a waste of cash, if you ask me. So let's move on to ultra rares. Now that Subaru Baja Turbo is fused, the Chrysler is also fused if you choose to not, you know, focus on American cars. The Ford Sierra RS500 can go. You know what though? I think that you should get rid of the Bentley before you get rid of the Ford Sierra. Here's the thing, the Ford Sierra isn't a very good car, but it's your only low RQ. Like, actually, you know what? No, get rid of it, because I just saw the Dodge Neon SRT4. You want to keep the Dodge Neon SRT4 because that is going to be your quote-unquote low RQ. 55 is, you know, not that low, but it's low for a beginner player. Keep the Dodge SRT4 because that is going to be your only medium ground clearance car if you get rid of the Sierra and the Bentley Arnage. And to be fair, the Sierra and the Bentley Arnage, not very good. They're not even American or Japanese anyway. I love how I'm already assuming that that you're focusing on Japanese and American, but like I said, it's the strongest sections of your garage. Once again, when it comes to American cars, you have the Circuit, which is amazing. You have the Trailblazer, which is amazing. You have the Neon, so there is a foundation here already. And when it comes to Japanese cars, look at that. 2 Nissan off-roaders and a GTR R32, which is fantastic as well. I love that car, I really, really do. Some other cars that you can probably get rid of is the Range Rover Evoque. Hopefully you want that only for the single player campaign because it's really, really bad. And then the BMW X540e, I mean, that's already 2-star, so you might as well keep it around. I would also keep around the Pathfinder just because it handles really well, but I wouldn't 1-star it yet because it might get nerfed in the next update whenever that comes around. And then over here we have the Porsche 924, which is a really good car, and of course the GMC Sierra All-Terrain. So once again, you know, you have a Japanese off-roader in the Subaru, you have an American off-roader in the Sierra, you have a Japanese performance tire car in the Skyline, and you have American performance tire cars in the Dodge Circuit. So really, those two are really what I want to focus on. I have to say though, your German collection for ultra rares is pretty strong as well, but it's not strong in other places. Now let's talk about your epics. You have 4 epics, and once again, look at that. 2 of them are American, 1 of them is Japanese. Really, if I were you, I'd probably start looking at American cars. So I would probably focus on American cars, and definitely I can help you that way, you know, in the best way possible because I'm an American specialist myself. Because the Ford Mustang GTR concept, what an amazing car. Now, you were telling me, Janko, would you want to either upgrade the Impreza or the Camaro? Honestly, the Ford Mustang would be my answer, but between these two, I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but the Subaru Impreza might be the better option, mainly because it's silver screen. But then again, you don't want to put a fuse into the Impreza if you can't even make it to the epic rounds of silver screen. So you got something to think about that. So really, at the end of the day, Yanko, I hope that you didn't. Is it Yanko or Janko? I actually don't know. Is it Django Fett or Yango Fett? It's Django Fett. But anyway, if I were you, Janko or Yanko, just don't. I wouldn't really upgrade any epic. There is no need to do it. I would say keep the fuse ultra rares around, and then when the time comes, if you actually get to a stage in the silver screen challenge where you need to use an epic, then you can consider putting an upgrade in the Impreza WRX. But I have to say, outside of silver screen, that Subaru is one of the worst cars in the frickin' game, okay? And the Ford Mustang GTR really is your best car in the garage. I know you have the McLaren 12C, but it's really high RQ. I don't know how many times you'll be able to use it and how easy it is to upgrade. The Ford Mustang GTR concept is basically going to be the spearhead in your garage. Everyone has a spearhead. My spearhead was the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 9, and as you saw from the Japanese epic video, it is literally one of my most raised Japanese cars in my entire garage. It's also one of my most raised cars in my entire garage. It's old, it's good, it was Max. It still is Max. So really what you want to do is look for a point, a team captain, if you will. And I think that Ford Mustang is the perfect team captain for you. It is a fantastic twisty car for anything dry. It has a low 0 to 60, a high top speed. The handling isn't very good. I mean, sorry, the MRA isn't very good, but the handling is really, really good. And it would be really perfect if you focus on American cars, because your team captain is basically a very, very strong American car in itself. Anyway, this is a pretty interesting one. I have not reviewed a smaller garage in a very long time, so it's nice to see what is kind of the advice that I can come up with. Obviously, this isn't improvised. I did look at this garage before I started recording, but like I said, the main thing, and I've said this many, many times, is look for a road to follow and stick on. A specialization road, basically, right? Stick to that. Don't try and get everything at the same time. I feel like that is the biggest mistake for every beginner player. They try and collect everything they can the moment they start the game, and they get overwhelmed because they want to collect everything, they want to upgrade everything, and then when they want to upgrade everything, they don't know what to fuse because they want to collect everything. It's a whole conundrum. Please don't do that. Definitely not the way to play the game, because that's how you quit. But anyway, I hope you found this video helpful, Yanko. Like I said, very small garage, but definitely there is a first step to take here, and I think that first step is either Japanese or American. And if you're a beginner player watching this video as well, really think about what is that first step that you want to take, and when you take that first step, stick with it, okay? But anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. I'm gonna stay safe, wash your hands, and I hope you enjoyed today's video of Garage Review. Blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac. Hold tight all night, cruise to Jacksonville
Atlantic.
Blonde hair, don't care, look like Leslie Brooks. Pin up girls everywhere with the drop dead look. Swing it side to side as we slow dance to the night, when I'll hold your perfect hand and take